2 days before the Week 12 showdown under the Thursday night lights, the Buffalo Bills woke up to news that could shift the entire tone of this matchup. Houston's rising star, C.J. Stroud, has officially been ruled out, still stuck in concussion protocol, which means the Texans will turn to Davis Mills for the start. And for Buffalo, that's the kind of break you hope for when you're grinding through a tight AFC race. Mills has stepped in and gone 2-0 while filling in this season, but let's be honest, facing him is nothing like facing Stroud. Just a few weeks ago, Buffalo steamrolled Carolina when they drew Andy Dalton instead of the starter. This situation carries the same energy. Mills is steady, but he doesn't bring the dynamic threat Stroud does, and that changes how aggressively Buffalo can attack on defense. Before I get deeper into why this matchup sets up perfectly for the Bills, before listening to the latest updates, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss a breaking Bills story. Alright, let's move on to the new news. Now, here's why this injury truly shifts the landscape. Early in the season, Houston's offense looked flat. They weren't stretching the field, they weren't dictating games, and they stumbled out to an 0-3 start. But as Stroud settled in, everything ignited. Over the last several weeks, he had been playing his sharpest football of the year, turning the Texans from a slow-starting squad into an offense capable of putting real pressure on any defense. And Bills fans remember this all too well. Last season, Stroud carved Buffalo up with surgical precision. Nearly 75% completions, over 330 yards, barely touched in the pocket, and complete rhythm from the first snap to the last. Buffalo only sacked him once that day, and that lack of pressure let him run the entire operation exactly how he wanted. Facing Mills instead changes the entire equation. The Texans won't have that same explosive rhythm, and Buffalo's defense will have far more room to dictate the tempo instead of reacting to it. If the Bills want to seize control of this matchup, there's one thing they must understand from the start: Houston's success with Davis Mills hasn't been about quarterback dominance, it's been about surviving. Mills may have stepped in and gone 2-0, but the Texans haven't been winning because of him. They've been winning around him. Yes, he delivered one clutch touchdown run against Jacksonville, but outside of that single moment, his job has mostly been to avoid disaster. Even then, his track record shows cracks. He threw a costly interception against the Jaguars, stayed conservative against Tennessee, and even in a victory, the Titans repeatedly collapsed the pocket. For sacks in one game. 2 more against Jacksonville. Another pair when he filled in against Denver. When pressure shows up, he doesn't escape, he absorbs it. And that's where the Bills can flip this game on its head. The contrast between Mills and Stroud under pressure couldn't be sharper. Stroud thrives in chaos, slipping through collapsing pockets, firing accurate throws on the move, and turning broken plays into explosive gains. That ability kept the Texans alive against elite defenses like San Francisco and Denver. Even when those teams brought heat, Stroud stayed calm, avoided sacks, and punished them downfield. Mills simply doesn't have that gear. When the pocket breaks, so does the play. The numbers say everything: low completion rate under pressure, minimal yardage, and a cluster of turnover-worthy snaps. The Texans lose their improvisational engine without Stroud, and Buffalo's defensive front is built to exploit exactly that weakness. And while Mills will carry some extra motivation, especially after what happened the last time he faced Buffalo, this is still the same quarterback who struggled through a rough afternoon against the Bills during his rookie year. For interceptions, constant pressure, and no rhythm from start to finish. Time has passed, players grow, but the matchup advantage hasn't shifted. When Davis Mills last saw the Bills' defense, the outcome wasn't pretty. Buffalo swallowed the pocket, dragged him down 3 times, and held him under 100 passing yards. It was one of those afternoons where the quarterback never settles in, never finds rhythm, and never threatens the secondary. And although that was years ago, the matchup problems remain the same. Yes, Mills has experience. Yes, he's won games in this league. But when you strip away the surface numbers and look at how he actually plays, the reality becomes clear: he's a passer who takes risks down the field without the athletic ability to escape pressure. That combination is exactly what Buffalo's defense thrives on. He loves pushing the ball beyond 10 yards, and while that aggressiveness can produce a big play here or there, it also invites turnover opportunities, something this defense desperately wants to capitalize on. One thing Buffalo must respect, however, is the bond Mills has built with Nico Collins. When Mills starts, Collins becomes his lifeline. Whether it's Jacksonville or Tennessee, he's been targeted early, often, and relentlessly. Nearly 140 yards one week, almost 100 and a score the next. Backup quarterbacks lean heavily on their most reliable receiver, and Collins fits that role perfectly. But that dependency can actually play in Buffalo's favor. Take away Collins, force Mills to look elsewhere, and suddenly the Texans' offense becomes predictable. Mix pressure with tight coverage on their top playmaker, and the Bills can tilt the game right there. There's also the matter of Houston's quick game options, specifically the short area touches to Woody Marks, who's dangerous after the catch and among the toughest players in football to bring down on first contact. Buffalo must swarm him immediately, no arm tackles, no hesitation, or he'll turn small plays into drive-extending gains. Still, the real threat this week isn't Mills. It's the other side of the ball. Houston's defense is physical, aggressive, and built to punch back. One sharp offensive performance from Buffalo last week doesn't erase the inconsistencies that came before it. To control this game, the Bills must be prepared for a defense that flies downhill, closes windows fast, and doesn't let quarterbacks settle into a comfortable rhythm. Buffalo's offense is walking straight into one of the toughest challenges in football. Houston doesn't just play fast or aggressive, they play like every snap is a statement. They've allowed fewer points than anyone this season, and their entire identity is built on suffocating quarterbacks before they ever get comfortable. The center of that storm is the pass rush duo that might be the most dangerous pairing in the league. On one side, a veteran with years of production and a relentless motor, on the other, a young star who wins with explosion, technique, and rare acceleration. Together, they don't just collapse pockets, they erase passing windows before plays ever develop. Buffalo's offensive line is one of the strengths of the team, but this matchup will stretch them to their limit. Dion Dawkins is set for a physical, high-energy duel on the left side, while Spencer Brown will face a young rusher who's been beating tackles with speed and raw power all season long. Both Houston edge defenders sit near the top of the league in total pressures, and what makes their impact even more impressive is how quickly they arrive. One of them ranks among the fastest in the entire NFL at getting off the ball, already producing nearly half his pressures in under 2.5 seconds. That kind of disruption doesn't allow hesitation. It doesn't leave time for deep developing plays. It forces quarterbacks to win with timing, rhythm, and decisiveness, and fortunately for Buffalo, that plays directly into Josh Allen's strengths. What the Bills need now is crisp, immediate separation from their receivers. The ball must come out fast, the routes need to be sharp, and the offense has to stay ahead of the chains. This is a week where players like Gabe Davis and Josh Palmer must beat their man at the snap, giving Allen the early reads he needs to neutralize Houston's pass rush. Even a half-second delay could tilt the pocket. This isn't a matchup about trick plays or flashy designs. It's about execution, toughness, and composure against one of the most explosive defensive fronts in the league. If Buffalo handles the edges, they control this game. If they don't, Houston's defense has the firepower to turn the night into a grind. The Bills need more from their supporting cast this week, especially from players who disappeared in the previous game. Someone must step into that third option role to keep Houston's defense honest, because the matchup in the trenches is already going to be a heavyweight slugfest. On the left side, Dion Dawkins and one of Houston's top edge rushers are about to collide snap after snap. Dawkins has been one of the most reliable left tackles in football, allowing pressure at one of the lowest rates among starters. But the rusher he's facing is producing pressure at a rate near the top of the league. It's a clash of strengths, and whoever controls that matchup may end up dictating the entire flow of Thursday night. And while much of the talk has centered on Davis Mills' past struggles against Buffalo, there's also history on the Bills' side of things. Even Josh Allen has had a rough outing against Houston in the past, an unusual one, where almost nothing through the air worked. Despite adding yards on the ground, the passing game stalled under constant pressure, and Buffalo paid for it with a narrow loss. The point of remembering that game isn't to dwell on a bad day. It's to recognize how disruptive Houston's pass rush can be when the Bills let the pocket collapse too often. Allen was pressured on nearly half his dropbacks that afternoon. That's the type of environment Buffalo cannot afford to repeat, especially with the Texans once again featuring a front capable of wrecking entire drives. Slowing down the edge pressure is only half the battle. Houston's interior defenders have quietly played strong football, collapsing the pocket from the inside and setting up those edge rushers for clean finishing lanes. It all puts pressure on Joe Brady and the offensive staff to design a plan that speeds up Allen's process, creates quick answers, and avoids long developing plays that allow the Texans' front to breathe down his neck. And if dealing with the pass rush wasn't enough, Houston's secondary has been lights out. Their top corner might be playing as well as any defender in the league, blanketing receivers snap after snap. Across from him is another young cover man with the athleticism to mirror routes and contest everything. Together, they've spent an enormous amount of time in tight coverage, consistently within arm's reach of their assignments and forcing quarterbacks into precision throws. For Buffalo, that means receivers must win early. Any hesitation, any wasted step, and the Texans' corners will eliminate the window. The Bills' passing game needs crisp releases, disciplined spacing, and receivers who can create separation before the pass rush even has time to arrive. Houston's top corner has been locking down receivers all season, allowing almost no breathing room. When a defender gives up barely over 3 yards of separation per route, you know you're dealing with someone who can erase entire passing concepts. That's the kind of challenge Buffalo's receivers must answer on Thursday night. And let's be honest, separation has been one of the Bills' biggest problems. Too often, receivers have struggled to shake free, forcing Josh Allen into tight window throws against aggressive coverage. But with the emergence of players like Josh Palmer, Gabe Davis' improved physicality, Khalil Shakir's reliability, and the new energy brought by Tyrell Shavers, this group has a chance to start rewriting that narrative. They'll need to, because this is one of the toughest secondaries they'll face all year. Houston is missing a key piece, though. Their instinctive, playmaking safety, the one who usually turns mistakes into momentum swings, is still sidelined. Losing a player of that caliber removes a layer of disguise from the back end and softens some of the risk the Bills typically face when pushing the ball downfield. If there's ever a time to take advantage of the middle and intermediate areas of the field, this is it. To unlock those opportunities, Buffalo needs more play action, not as a sprinkle, but as a foundation. When they leaned on it early last week, the offense looked smoother, quicker, and more in rhythm. Play action slows down aggressive defenses, holds linebackers in place, and buys Allen the extra half second he needs. Paired with quick game concepts, slants, hitches, crosses, the entire offense can gain tempo, forcing Houston to react instead of dictating the pace. Those early completions can also open up the run game, giving James Cook cleaner lanes and helping the Bills maintain balance. Against a defense that thrives on turning you one-dimensional, that balance is absolutely critical. Buffalo did catch a break this week with the quarterback news on the other sideline, but nothing about Houston's defense suggests this will be easy. This is a showdown against one of the most disciplined, violent units in football. If the Bills win this game, it'll be because they matched that intensity snap after snap. Thursday night is a statement opportunity, a chance to prove the offense can adapt, attack, and overcome one of the league's toughest challenges. The Bills have everything to play for, everything to gain, and every reason to come out swinging.